Deputy Director. Y'all could come on up. Good to see you, Marcia. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yes, and you can pull that microphone real close because everybody's talking a little low today.
That's very rare that's said about me, but that's.
Yes, I don't know what, it's not very loud in here. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Well, thank you to all of us being here. I'm Marcia McLean, the Executive Director of TICO, and we're changing the type of clientele you've been hearing about all morning. The Texas Civil Commitment Office is responsible for long-term supervision and treatment of sexually violent predators. These are people that have been convicted of at least 2 serious violent offenses and been deemed to be likely to reoffend. We have no say in who we get. The court commits them and we take them. Let me make an announcement that some of you may already know, but last Thursday in Comal County was the very first female civil commitment. The person just got civilly committed. I sat through some of that trial, and that was amazing. Just very sick, very sad trial, I'll tell you at that point. We are administratively attached to HHSC because we are not a criminal justice agency. We are a treatment agency, and in order to keep us constitutional, we got to make sure we're running down the treatment track and not the criminal justice track. Although every one of our current 489 clients at the facility, every one of them have come out of prison to us. We're currently authorized 41 FTEs and have a budget of $47 million, of which about 94% is for client services. We have 2 strategies, administration and client services. Neither has a surplus for money to be transferred back and forth. TICO has experienced budget shortfalls both in 22, 23, and then in 24. HHSC was needed to transfer money in 22 and 23, and in 24, we brought money back from 25. We currently have a supplemental request about $7.38 million to replace the 25 funds and to cover the shortfall for 24. We will run out of money by the end of March for client services. The majority of the clients that the commitment center, or there 82% of our clients are age 50 and older.
Is that what is driving the cost?
Yes.
Okay.
The big chunk here is money, and you'll hear in part of our presentation on the exceptional items is when that 5% was taken away a long time ago and we never got that back, we used that for the medical costs in the previous years, and also back up until 23, we were leveling huge sanctions on the vendors for failure to comply with the contract. In 2022, it was $1.6 million, and then the last years from that, it's been $330,000 and $220,000. So they finally started complying with the contract, but that lowered the sanction money we were getting. So when we got the 1.6 plus the other 5%, we were able to cover the expenses. At that point, what we did do when we negotiated this contract originally in 2019 is we put in the contract that the vendor pays for the first $25,000 of medical cost each year for each client. That's a pretty big deal to be putting in a client. I think a contract that the state has. So we're working on doing some other things for the medical. We're worked with the hospitals to see if we can get the prices lower. They're not interested because they don't like our people. They don't want to take them. The local providers, doctors don't want to take our guys. It's real difficult to get them in there. And some other things we've done to help save the state some money is this contract. Also in 2019, we negotiated with the vendor if we sign a contract for a 20-year contract with them, and they were currently in year 9, so it was just 11 more years from that they would build for free additional housing, an education treatment building, and a chow hall. So what that means, the beds aren't free. The brick and mortar of actually building that was a deal that they cut with us. And it took them a very long time to finally start building those beds. So as a result of them not building those beds timely, we didn't increase their per diem that was in the contract for like a 3% increase every two years. But we also have a provision if they're not in compliance with their contract that we don't give them that per diem increase. So they did not get a per diem increase for a year and a half. They missed one totally, and then we gave them one a year ago, January, because they finally started building the beds, and all 96 beds opened up in October, and we have another 96 supposed to open in March and another 96 in April. I'm sure those are all going to get pushed off because they've been late every time that we've looked at doing that kind of stuff.
Can I ask you,
Yeah.
what are they being treated for? Do you have a rundown in these beds? Is it medical illnesses? Is it what's going on?
This is all medical costs.
All medical?
Yeah, all medical
Pure medical,
costs.
not treatment or education, because you talked about educational beds, building, is that what you said?
That's for that's for sex offender treatment.
Treatment.
And
Is
whatever
that
kind of-
required by law, the treatment?
The sex offender treatment,
Yes.
yeah. If we don't have treatment, we're going to be found unconstitutional.
Right, and is there a certain number of hours per week, or how does it work?
We do 6 hours a week of strictly sex offender treatment, plus then additional as-needed individual. The sex offender 6 hours is group, and then they've got all kind of other, treatment going on up there, education, whether if they're in GED, substance abuse, anger management, all the basic kind of courses you've heard at places.
And who determines what of that is offered, or do you just offer what is all required constitutionally?
We did that when we changed the program from an outpatient program to an inpatient program. We reviewed what was going on in other states.
Okay.
It doesn't say how much of any kind of treatment you need to provide. It just says you need to provide treatment, and there needs to be a way out of the actual
Correct,
civil
yes.
commitment at some
It's
point.
a civil commitment,
Right,
right? And
right.
so there's an assessment routinely and so forth. But the medical needs are they like diabetes? Is it HIV?
Oh, we just had a guy in intensive care for almost 8 weeks. He had major heart surgery. And we've had people, you think of these guys are 50, I think 82% is 50 and older, 72% is 55 and older, and then they're old, very old and very sick guys. I believe 451 of them have one or more chronic conditions, and there's been 1,450 chronic conditions diagnosed with this group.
Okay.
And
you keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt. I
No.
was just curious to know what we were talking about.
It's the gamut. And we have a primary care clinic that's open 16 hours a day, 7 days a week to take care of just basic.
We did that a few years ago. Where
Yeah.
I tried to cut down on because you were taking them off site for a cold or a flu or something.
Absolutely. So you helped on that. One of the important things is our current per client cost per year is $43,075. It's the lowest in the United States. There's 21 programs, 20 programs state has. And it goes from our $43,000 up to $505,000 some states are paying for. And you probably could guess which state's paying that amount of money.
And you say the total number is growing. How fast is it growing, the population of these offenders?
About between 35 and 40 some a year.
Okay.
And that's pretty been consistent, I think, for over the years with that.
And they're not released very often, are they?
We have since 1999, or 1999 is when the program started. The first person to be released from civil commitment was in 2016. And we have had 25 people totally released from civil commitment. And we currently have 5 people on Tier 5, which is a community part of their program.
Right. So if it continues to grow and they're not phasing out, then we can expect increased costs. That's the way it works.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that signs that paper for them to walk out the door. So we're real careful when they go through their tiers at the facility. There's 4 tiers there, and then the last tier is in the community with them.
Okay. Well, we'll give you what you need for the program to continue. We just ask that it be administered, and you keep an eye on these contractors. Senator Perry, I know you have questions.
Yeah, just real quick. So you addressed a couple of them. What's your recidivism rate? Those 25 you let out, how many of them returned?
0 that we know of. We don't have the authority to run the criminal background, but generally these guys call us or their families call back and check in on us at this point. But you asked that last session, I knocked on wood. That kind of scares me.
Just want to know if we're having an effect. I guess that would come back through the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
Reoffend, that'd be it. So, State auditor conducted a forensic audit, and what did they determine?
They absolutely did conduct a forensic audit, and they determined that all our costs were allowable. What was the wording they used? Allowable and appropriate and allowed. It was that audit. I mean, I've had several audits in my lifetime somewhere along the way, but they actually called the doctor's offices in the community to see if the client showed up, if they provided the services, and they checked to make sure they saw the check or the payment from MTC.
So what's the percentage of patients with Hep C? Because that's one of the largest healthcare costs. Is that correct?
I don't know what it is. We haven't had that many lately.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't remember. Well, I can find out what
It's
that
not
is.
fine. I remember in the
Yeah.
past that was
a
large
big deal.
percentage. All
That
right.
cost I know has come down.
How many beds do you currently have today that are empty?
Well, they're 97% full, and we have 503 beds with 489 people in them.
What's the capacity of that facility?
Right now, it's 409.
Okay, and you're adding 40.
I'm sorry, 509, not 400.
You're adding 40 a year, basically.
Yeah.
It's a trend that's going the wrong way, Madam Chair. And
Well-
when you consider the offenses, but I guess we are growing.
Depends how you look at it, yeah. If we're
Yeah, I hear you.
getting them off keeping them off
well,
the street
just-
from
just-
protecting our young people, then it's a good investment.
From the senator that lives in that area, it's a model that's working, and it addresses a need that, if not for this model, it'd be a bad outcome. But having local hospital providers being consumed by these inmates and things over the past years, and we've seemed to have mitigated some of that, and it's better, and the operator's getting paid, and the hospital's getting paid. So whatever arrangement we've been able to come to the last couple of years, it's quiet on the home front, which is a good thing.
That's good.
It is, because it wasn't too quiet when those guys were coming through the ER system
I know.
and some of the things they were guilty of. So anyway, I don't know what we've done, but whatever we're doing seems to be working well for what this place is intended to do and what they're doing.
I would agree. And Marcia, I would just ask you, as you move forward, and it may be in your exceptional items request, since you can kind of predict the growth and you know you're reaching capacity, let's start planning ahead of time of what we need to do to make sure that you have the facilities to meet growing capacities as the years go by. Because I know the healthcare costs have grown, but you say they're aging, and we sit in here day after day, we see healthcare costs growing in every agency, that provides healthcare, or healthcare benefits. So
I want to tell you, too, you made a comment about watching the vendor. I mean, we every month we do 100% program audit, and that's where those sanctions come from. And then we've got staff up there every week from here. I mean, we are all over those monitors, the vendor, to make sure they're doing what they need to be doing, or at least attributing. We're making sure that. But
okay.
I wanted to bring up something too about.
Sure.
You were talking about assaultive stuff and all the facility. Our assaults at that facility has gone up 22% in the last year, and they continue to go up. We had a case manager that was just walking down the breezeway where we all walk all the time, and a client grabbed a iron bar off the weight machine that shouldn't have been loose and just went and beat her almost to death. The thing that kept her alive is she had the Stanley Cup, and she was protecting herself. It was all dented up at that point. And that's had the threats.
Certainly y'all filed charges and had the sheriff or whoever come out and.
He got 40 years. They plea bargained it
Perfect.
to 40 years. And that should have been
That's one we don't have
life.
to pay for anymore in this program. Well, please give our best did she leave? I'm sure she left her job, yeah.
She did,
Doing okay?
absolutely. She's okay. Well, she's okay. She's okay.
Yeah.
She's still having a hard time with doing that. We just had our facility administrator attacked and bitten by one of the clients who actually threatened to kill me. I was walking down the hall. He wanted to talk to me. He was mad he thought he wasn't getting his mail, and he was getting his mail. And I just happened to be up there with TDCJ, Inspector Generals. We usually work with them when there's criminal activity going on up there, and they were checking some bad staff and things. And I came around the corner, and he was standing there in a hoodie just waiting for me. As he came up, they got me out of the way on some stuff, but he threatened to kill me, and he was threatening to kill a couple other people, and he bit the facility administrator in 2 places, and it took about 11 people to get him down. He's 6'6" and 350 pounds.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's
What county are you in?
Lamb County.
Is that one of yours, Senator Perry?
Yes.
make sure you let those sheriff and law enforcement know how much we appreciate them following up on those cases and and the DA for prosecuting.
I got to give kudos to the community because they understand.
Yeah,
They're not excited and happy sometimes, but over the years, it's kind of become part of it. But it's a good area for this program.
yeah.
If you had your pick, you probably wouldn't. It's there, but the community has kind of gotten comfortable with the idea that that's needed in the state, and they support it. So
Good, thank you. All right, any other questions?
You guys, you've got our exceptional items there. I don't know if
Yeah.
if you want us to go through them, we can, but they're all.
We don't, we know what you need. We're going to make sure you have what you need to get your work done, so we get it.
And
You
I
have a very tough job with a challenging, we can call them clientele, I guess. We understand.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you
it.
very much. Okay, we are going to move on to the Department of State Health Services.